Hello everybody and welcome to another tutorial. In this tutorial we are gonna create this Toon shading material using Unity Shader Graph, and this guy is going to have two edges of shadow. One is darker than the other. You can define your shading tint and your texture and the light intensity, and obviously how smooth these edges are. So let's get into it. So the first thing that we are gonna need is a shader. It's gonna be PBR. Let's call it Toon. Let's open it. And first thing that we need is the lighting information, and there is a custom node that brings that. You can find the code for this node in the link in the description on guy need it, or you can download my material pack. So what you need to do is a dot product between the direction of the main light and normal vector in world space. If you connect this directly to so the first thing that we need is to get rid of any shadows provided by default and use the emission instead. So let's save that and let's create a material out of that and use it instead. And this is what it does, right? And this is actually how shadows gets calculated mostly. Now you can see that it is smooth. So to define how smooth you want it, you can put this in a smooth step in the input and use the output instead, and define the first edge where it starts, and then the edge smoothness is going to be, let's put a slider, and we are gonna add this smoothness to the edge and connect it to the other edge, if that makes sense. Let's save that and I will show you. So now this defines how smooth the transition between the shadow and the light, and this defines where does that edge starts. Cool. So if we want to create another edge, all what we need to do is to duplicate these two, provide this one here, create another edge, and use that. You can use the same smoothness for it. Now you have two edges, and to use these I'm gonna use lerp, right, between, and this is gonna be the T. It's what's gonna define between this and this. And let's add in a texture. This guy, and let's use it instead of the white, and let's do a color. Let's call it texture tint, and let's put it somewhere like here, and this is gonna be the multiplication of the texture and the tint, and it's going to be the other edge, so you can see how that affects it, and we're going to use that for the emission. Now we didn't use the second edge. I'll show you how to do that. So now we can select a material, and you can see smooth. This is what you want, right? So that's the first edge, and we have already the second edge. To use that, let's create we can create a second color, or use the same color to do a second tint. And what we are going to do is same thing. We're gonna multiply the output of the slurp with this new tint, and we are going to lerp between this and this, and use the output of that instead. So let's save that, and let's move the second edge back. You can see now how we have two edges, which is what we want. Now one thing left is that these, they don't receive any shadows, right? And to deal with that, what we can do is, there is this field called attenuation, which is the shadow that is being received. And this doesn't work in the HD render pipeline when you try to use this same node. I don't know if there is a workaround or something. So what you need to do is to multiply this output with the attenuation and use that instead. Let's save. Now you can see you have your shadows. If you want these shadows to be as dark as this one, then what you need to do is to multiply the attenuation by this one as well, and that's it. So thank you for watching, and you can support me by buying my material pack, and don't forget to subscribe.